Welcome to another episode of the Prep Coach podcast, and it is an absolute privilege to have IFBB Pro Cavanagh. I just want to say firstly, congratulations on an incredible achievement and goal reached. I actually want to start there because some people, want to achieve that goal of getting their IFBB Pro card, but they don't realize how long it can actually take. And it's not very common for someone to get it in their first try. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about how long did it actually take to get your pro card?
Okay. Well, my Pro League or IFBB NPC journey would have been back in, I think it was 2018, 2019, about 5 years ago. Can't remember now, COVID thing.
COVID was in the middle there somewhere. So.
But yeah, I started, back when we had the Arnold Sports Festival. So it was a while ago, and bodybuilding was growing in Australia, and there were quite a few opportunities to compete. We had the split in the IFBB as well. And, I watched a show here in Perth, and I'd done ICN for quite a few years. And I thought, I like this federation. I'm going to make this my next goal. So I did the state show, and I think I got like second in first timers and third in novice, and went to nationals and completely bombed out and got like last call out. And the biggest thing with bodybuilding is like, it's not about getting it perfect on your first go. It's not about taking home a medal or winning a pro card. I truly believe that bodybuilding is about progression. It's about getting up on stage, setting a benchmark, and then from there on out, getting feedback and improving. The hard work is done in the off season, and that's truly what bodybuilding is. It's not about just ticking a box and doing one show. It's about stepping on stage, presenting your best, setting that standard for yourself, and thinking, right, every single time I step on stage, I'm going to beat that physique. And that's what I did, So I did that show, that national show, Arnold's, and, for all those first timers out there, I got last call outs. And that's okay. Like, some girls get really upset by that, but you've got to start somewhere. And that's what I think it's really important for these girls coming through to remember is everyone has, different starting points, but for most females, it takes a long time to develop the bikini shape and match the criteria that it is now. It takes a good 3-4 years to develop that much muscle. For me, it took 5. So I did that nationals and thought, okay, yep, cool. We've got a lot of work to do. And, every comp is a lesson learned when it comes to your posing, how you look on stage, how much muscle you have compared to others. And then, I think I had a year, 2 years off. I think that was during COVID time as well.
Yeah.
Kind of forced you to take a little extra time
Yeah.
off. And then, I did a national show in Queensland, and I think I got like 4th place in the open lineup. And then from there, I don't remember now, what did I do? Oh, I did the Melbourne Nationals the year after, and I got 3rd. So I slowly was working my way.
Getting closer. Yeah.
Still not quite satisfied, which is okay. That's what keeps us hungry and keeps us working hard. And then, I did 2 years off with a coach called Richard, who you know.
Yeah, we know Rich, yeah.
He took me under his wing and said, right, you're going to have a solid off season. We're going to put on some good muscle and go again. So I did Melbourne Nationals, got 3rd, and then 2 years off training with Richard, and I came back and I got 2nd. So I improved again.
You improved, yeah.
Look, I'm consistency queen, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
That never give up attitude. Sometimes I wish I gave up. No, I'm kidding.
No.
So after that, what was that? So that would have been last year. Yeah.
Yep.
Trying to get the timeline in my head. Last year, I got 2nd in season A. And that's when we decided to do a little bit of a Euro trip as well. So after nationals, we went to Europe and we did Spain, I did the
Wow.
Amateur Olympia in Spain, which was insane. Like,
Wow.
I think it's hard. I think Brazil and Spain were probably on par with how many people
Oh,
are at.
really?
And, that's why I always encourage people, go and do an international show, because these shows are just massive. Australia is growing with bodybuilding. We're always getting bigger, but when you go international, it is on another level.
Yeah.
You ever compete internationally?
So I've taken 2 athletes to Korea for ICN Universe.
Yep.
That was in 2023, and that was an incredible experience. And I actually want to talk a little bit about traveling in bodybuilding, but I'll let you keep going, and we'll go back to it in a second.
Just tell me when I stop when I need you. So yeah, we went to Europe. I did 2 shows in Spain, which was all in the same city called Alicante, which was beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah.
A little bit of a holiday mixed with bodybuilding, and for me, that's just the perfect holiday. I get to train. I'd do a show, enjoy myself for a whole day, eating all the tapas and drinking all the sangria, and then get in trouble from coach, get back on plan, and prepare for the next show. So we did 2 in there, and then we went to Italy, Milan, and we did 1 in Italy, and I placed in all of them, which was a huge accomplishment.
Wow.
You go into these shows and you've got no idea what to expect. The girls over there, it is very competitive, standing backstage with these women, and they had like open class A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Just like a ridiculous amount of open classes, lots of girls in every class. So you just, you always want to do well, but in the end, you're like, I brought my best. So whatever happens, happens. But, you're just proud to be standing on a stage that's, as big as these international shows are. Especially like if anyone goes to Spain, I highly recommend do the Amateur Olympia or the M Pro Classic, because that stage is phenomenal. It is massive. They've got like, not for the amateurs, but for the pros, they had fireworks and flames coming on stage. The backdrop is massive. They've just got like huge big foam letters basically lining the back of the stage, just massive screen that brings your name up, where you're from, your country.
That's awesome.
It's so cool. So yeah, we did those 2 shows. I got 2/3 and a second, so super stoked with that.
That's amazing.
And yeah, we came home, and then I kind of spoke to Richard, spoke to my husband, and we were like, what do we want to do? Do we want to finish there or kind of keep going? So I went into an off season with Richard, and we just kept training. I was already in a really good place after show to just grow some lean muscle, not put on too much body fat. And we spent about 4 months growing, and I actually put on some decent size. And, we had planned to do America. So I was never going to do nationals or Sydney or anything. My husband was competing the next season. So I was like, look, we're going to America. I don't want to get FOMO. So I love the Olympia week. It's so much fun. So I was like, you're going to do it. I might as well do it too, but I won't do anything else. And, I was going through, and Richard put me into prep for America. And I think we were like 3 days out from Sydney State Show. I messaged him and I was like, hey, Richard, what if I did Sydney? And he was like,
God.
are you serious?
I've gotten those
you can
messages
imagine
before.
as a
I know.
you would have been like, are you trying to give me a heart attack?
Yes.
And I'm like, look, I'm not looking too bad. Like, it won't be my best, but should we give it a go? So he was like, he wasn't too happy about it, but I was like, why not? What have we got to lose? I was like, this is probably going to be my last season. I'd done pretty much every amateur show there is in the world.
Yeah. You've done a fair few.
Like, let's just go all out, see how the season goes. And I was looking good. We were really happy with how I was coming in for that show. So we threw in Sydney, and I ended up getting first in my open class. So that was actually my first ever in IFBB.
Wow.
Just for those listening at home, my first gold medal I got was actually that year in IFBB. So I'd been competing for 5 years within the pro league. And that year, last year, was my first time I ever got a gold medal.
Wow, that's incredible. That
It's,
gives you perspective. Yeah.
you know, and it's tough. The bikini class is tough. You know,
Mhm.
these girls are bringing it. They are putting in the work. They're taking their time before they step on stage. You know, posing, everything. They're really putting in 100%, which makes it super competitive and it makes it a great show, you know. So took me a while, but I managed to get that first place in Sydney. And then I was like, well, that was pretty good. Should we do nationals? And Richard's like, oh, okay, let's do nationals.
Rich.
Yeah, you know, but he loves it. He thinks it's
Yeah, of
funny.
course he does. Yeah.
And you know him, he's too cool. He doesn't
Yeah.
stress. He might do, but doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So we jumped in and did nationals too, and then I won that open class. So we were kind of like, hey, this season's starting really well.
Mhm.
And you know, in open two, the overalls, that was, you know, a really good lineup of girls and super close too when it came to the pro card. And then we thought, all right, well, we're going to America. We'll see how that goes. And then I got first again in my open class. So it was a really good start to the season. And I got into overalls. And unfortunately, in America, they actually gave out 3 pro cards. And
Oh.
I got 4. So
Oh no.
missed out on that pro card. And then after America was done, I was like, okay, we gave it our best. You know,
Mhm.
I think that's it. And then Jared, my husband, was like, well, you know, Brazil's not that far away. Why don't we just fly to Brazil? And, you know, you can understand just from this story that my husband is a go-getter.
Yeah,
He is
sounds like
all
it.
in.
Yeah.
He's like, we're going to get you this pro card. He believes in me wholeheartedly. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You need a great team around you. And I'm very
100%.
fortunate to have that support. And at first I was like, we're not going to Brazil, Jared. And he's like, yeah, let's go to Brazil. So a day after the show, we booked Brazil and we just, because we were traveling America anyway, we just cut our trip a little shorter in New York so we could go over to Brazil for like 5 days.
Mhm.
And it's not just over, it's like a 10-hour flight, but still so worth it because Brazil is amazing. You know,
Imagine.
we stayed in Sao Paulo, I think it is. Sao
Yeah.
Paulo.
Yeah.
And you know, the city is quite eye-opening because I've never been to Brazil before. So the city is like pretty, you know, there's a lot of people. It's third world country and, you know, but beautiful. The culture is amazing. And we actually, after the show in Brazil, traveled out to the jungle and stayed in the jungle in this
Oh
beautiful,
wow.
which was insane. So
That's
that
incredible.
whole trip, I was just almost like in a dream, a daze the whole time. But yeah, so we went to Brazil, and again, another massive show. Like the Brazilians are just like the soccer fans,
Y-
you know, soccer hooligans with
Yeah.
their like horns that they like blow. When you're at that show, the whole crowd, this venue was massive. The whole crowd was full for the amateur show and the pro show. There was an expo as well. They were
Oh.
blowing horns when you're on stage. They're speaking Portuguese. I'm on stage. I have no idea what they're saying. They're asking us to turn, walk to the rear, and I'm just copying the girl next to me, hoping that I'm not doing the wrong thing. Backstage, trying to learn my number off by heart, so I at least know that. Like
Oh yeah. Jeez. Even something simple as that, right? Yeah.
it was insane, but so cool. And you know, I got second in that too. And again, my lineup was huge in Brazil, massive lineup of girls. And those girls back, I just said to Jared, I was like, if I get top call outs here, I'm gonna be stoked. So to come home with second, I was like, oh, that was worth it.
Amazing.
A great experience. And then, yeah, after that, we kind of came home, and you know, my husband and his great ideas were like, there is Japan. And my friend, my client was going to Japan too. And I've been speaking to her about it. And she was like, come to Japan, do the amateur Olympia there. So they twisted my arm and I was like, look, I'm feeling okay. You know, the
Yeah.
body was going okay. I was managing to hold conditioning and we weren't, you know, just fatiguing out basically, because
Mhm.
that's obviously the focus when you're
Yep.
doing like shows in a year.
Yep.
So, you know, my health was fine. I was feeling good. And to be fair, like that's a credit to Richard too, from his great coaching. So my preps that I was doing, you know, I was in prep for about 4 weeks for Sydney,
Wow.
4
Jesus.
week prep.
Yeah.
And then every show I did, you know, he was able to increase my calories because I had got into condition. So I was eating a decent amount of food, no cardio, So very manageable. Still not easy,
Yeah.
but very manageable to be able to do all these back-to-back shows.
Because
So
that Sydney show would have probably been like September time period. And then when was
yeah,
the Japan show? Like November? Yeah.
yeah.
It's a long time. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a full-on month for me. Like we also sold our house and moved house, and then 4 days later flew to Japan and did the amateur show there.
Jesus.
And yeah, in the end, like reflecting on it all, every show was an amazing experience, but I couldn't have chosen a better show and a better weekend to win your pro card at.
Mm.
You know, Japan had the amateur show on the Saturday and then the pro show on the Sunday. So, you know, you go into these shows, you bring your best, you'd love to win that pro card, but you gotta know that this is bodybuilding. It's subjective.
Mhm.
You don't know who's going to be there on the day. There's so many things out of your control that you need to be just prepared for.
Mhm.
And that was my attitude. I was like, I cannot look any better. This is my best package today. If it's meant to be, it'll be. And if not, I couldn't have done any better. But it was meant to be. So we managed to win my open in Japan and go into the overall. And I managed to get one of the 3 pro cards in Japan. So it was a very cool experience. But
Yeah.
yeah, we finally got the pro card. I came off stage and I was just like an emotional wreck, as you can imagine.
Yeah, even your husband, he would have been so emotional because he's
He
pushed
cried
you
more
so
than I
long.
did. I
Yeah.
was just in shock. I was like, I can't believe we fucking did it. Like,
Yeah.
we
That's
just
that moment would have been incredible. Absolutely incredible.
it was a big journey. And again, you know, it took me 5 years. It wasn't easy for me. I
Mhm.
had to work really hard. I had to put on, you know, I was a skinny ballerina dancer when I first started bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So I had to pick a sport that required a shape of muscle, complete opposite to what I genetically was given.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got that, and they pulled me off stage when I won the pro card, and I was like, just the relief, you know, and you just wanted to eat some food and celebrate. And they were like, you come with us, and like you do pro show, and I was like, what? I was
Yeah.
like, I can't do a pro show. I was like, my body was wrecked. I was so tired. So I was like all upset, just like, do I do a pro show or do I just like wait and, you know, have some time and then come back and do shows later? And I spoke to my coach and Jordan Dash, he was there too. And he's like, Kat, you've got to do the pro
Oh
show.
yeah.
What a cool experience
Yes.
to, you know, be an amateur one day and then step on a pro show the next day. And I was like, you're right. I was like,
Mhm.
I can put aside some, you know,
Food.
yeah, a big feed and feast and wait till Sunday. Another 24 hours, I can do it. And yeah, I'm glad I did in the end because it was such an amazing experience stepping on that pro stage and just being backstage with pros. You were like, this is so cool.
Mm.
You know, for something a year ago, that to me felt impossible, you know, to then it just be a reality. So you're like, you know, anything is achievable when you be consistent and yeah, just work hard and keep going at something, even though it might seem crazy. I'm telling you now, it's possible. Don't be afraid of big, scary, crazy dreams because I'm living proof that it is very much possible. So yeah, got to do a pro show and that was amazing, especially for me as a posing coach to get a whole 45 seconds to a minute to pose. Never got that before. Normally,
Wow.
get on, get off quick, you know. So that was cool. And obviously the Japanese, they go all out with their shows. So the
Yeah.
light, the special effects that they had, like you come on and it's dark and there's just a silhouette,
Oh.
really cool background that's flashing lights. And then all of a sudden the lights come on and you walk forward. I'm like, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Just so you know, that's what I've been doing it for.
Yeah.
The pro show routine. So yeah, super cool.
That's incredible. And
But yeah, just, you know, to start a year off getting, you know, my first gold medal ever in NPC to finishing the year with a pro card. It just shows you that even within a year, you can make great progress. But obviously it does take time, commitment, a lot of dedication. So that's my story.
yes, and also too is people have to remember you started in the NPC already being at the top level of ICN, right? So it's
Yeah,
not like you
yeah,
came in at a full beginner,
yeah,
never done a comp in their life, never really trained much. You were already a seasoned competitor, if you want to call it that, before you even started NPC.
yeah. I did ICN for 4 years.
Mm.
I competed with them, and I did fitness and sports model.
Mhm.
And that's where I fell in love with bodybuilding, and that's where it all started. I came from being a dancer, and I was very, very committed to dancing too. Like, I did a lot of competitions. I competed all over the world. That's where I got my travel bug for bodybuilding.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I did all styles of dance. So I did, the usual tap, jazz, ballet, hip hop, and I also did Highland dancing, which is Scottish dancing. I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm half Scottish. That's where my hobby came from too. And to compete, you have to travel because
Mhm.
there's not much in Australia. So I would also do lots of performances around the world because it's a cultural style of dance. I did military tattoos. I can, performed in Switzerland at tattoos. We got invited to go and travel around the world and compete in huge, performances with massive audiences. So that's where my, love for the stage came from. And I enjoyed training too. So it's kind of like all my worlds just combined into one, and, really ignited my passion for bodybuilding. But yeah, won my sports model pro card in ICN, and then that's when I decided to, give MTC a go. So all up, it's been like, I'd say like 9, almost 10 years now of just progressively improving and, giving every federation a go too. I think that's really important for girls starting off to remember that, every federation offers a different look.
Mhm.
You do need to pick the one that you love the most, and you can build a physique to fit that criteria. But in the end, you've got to try them all because there's so many options, especially with like NBA, ICN. They've got the bikini, the sports model, the fitness, wellness now too, which
Mhm.
is amazing. They really do provide a lot of opportunities for females in bodybuilding. But yeah, it just the thing with bodybuilding and winning a pro card, it's what you make of it. It
Yeah.
really, like, you can do one show and say, hey, that was a great experience, but it's not for me. Or you can do one show, fall in love with it, the lifestyle, the whole having a goal, focus, a challenge for yourself. And yeah, you can really make amazing friends, take
Yes.
advantage of the opportunities, the competitions, and, get in the industry. Like, you look at us, we didn't start in the fitness industry, and now that's
No.
what we do as a job. So it can take you to some pretty cool places.
Definitely. All right. So there's so many rabbit holes I want to go down because you mentioned so many things, but I want to keep on this timeline path. So a lot of people would then get their pro card and be like, fall off the face of the earth. And no one ever hears from them ever again. They never compete, job done, achieve my goal, I'm finished.
Mm.
What do you have next?
Yeah, it breaks my heart,
Yeah, I
honestly.
know.
And look, everyone has their story, everyone has their reason. Bodybuilding, it really does take up such a huge chunk of your life. The commitment, the dedication, the financial dedication to
Mhm.
it as well. Like, it's a lot of money. Bodybuilding is not a cheap sport. You know, you could play badminton or, something that's a lot more cheaper, but this sport does require a lot of savings. And I understand why people get a pro card, and, the hype's there at the beginning and then it dies off. But what I'm very grateful for is the fact that I've been able to travel the world.
Mhm.
So I've been out to, where have we gone? We went to obviously America a couple of times. We've been to Japan, Europe, and Brazil. And to see bodybuilding for what it is over in those countries, it is so motivating and inspiring. I know sometimes here, especially when you're just, day to day, you go to your 24/7 gym, you train, you get your workout done. It's hard to visualize the bigger picture, the end goal, and just how big it actually can be, and how much of an amazing experience you can have in bodybuilding. So to be able to travel the world and see these shows, see how respected bodybuilding is, the opportunities that are provided, it keeps me super motivated. And I'm very grateful for that, because I know a lot of people haven't had that opportunity to be able to travel and actually see what bodybuilding can be, or what they can provide for them as an athlete. So yeah, when I got that pro card, for sure, that was like, for me, the decider, because, you know, I haven't said this to a lot of people, but at the end of last year, you know, I had committed a lot to bodybuilding, and I thought, for me, to keep me in the sport and to keep me motivated to want to continue to progress and do more shows, I really wanted a pro card. And I think you're allowed that, you know, you're allowed to achieve that.
Mhm.
And I'd just done everything an amateur could possibly do.
Yeah,
You know,
it's great.
I'd done Australian national shows for 5 years. I'd competed in lots of huge amateur shows around the world. So for me, it was like, I'd love that opportunity to win a pro card and, you know, be a little fish in a big pond again,
Mhm.
and have that drive and passion to want to continue to improve and, you know, try and get just to step on stage with pro athletes that I have watched, you know, for so long. Like, that's a huge inspiration to me. So we got that card, and then I was like, right, that's it, that's the decider. Let's keep going.
Awesome.
Let's keep working and see what we can do with, like, you know, a good, I think we've had like, you know, 10 months off of training and trying to grow some more muscle to get as big as possible to step on some pro stages at the end of the year, which we have actually just recently planned.
Awesome. That's so good.
We sort of this podcast just in time, because my husband and I spent a night, what was it, last week, just planning a bit of a pro show run, which was just mind blowing. Like, being
Wow.
able to register and, you know, with the IFBB and get your pro card, like a proper pro card, not the big thing. And then, you know, the great thing about the pro league is you pay for your membership as a pro, and then you can register for any show in the year
Mhm.
free. You know,
Mhm.
it doesn't cost anything. So
Wow.
that was really cool, because I'm used to, you know, registering for an
Yeah.
amateur show like $300-400.
Mhm.
So went online and we just looked at all the shows, and our plan is to go to America, and we just tried to pick some shows in America that run back to back, so
Mhm.
we can make the most of being there and just get on stage and see, you know, see how I look compared to these pro athletes, you know, hopefully stand on stage with some Olympians, which would be pretty cool,
Very
and
cool.
immerse yourself in the bodybuilding industry within America. It's insane. You know, there's so many athletes, so many shows, the money involved in the sport too. It's just the gyms as well over there are massive. It's a really cool experience. So we've booked, I'll give you a little bit of a debrief on what we planned. We're going to fly over to LA,
Mhm.
and we need to fly to the other side of America, to Florida. And in Florida, there's 2 shows. There's one in, it's Sarasota.
Sarasota,
Sarasota,
yeah. Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
And near Tampa, I think it is.
Yep. Mhm.
I'm getting very good with the map of
Mhm.
America now. You know, there's a lot of states there, but so Sarasota, and then it's called Battle of the Bodies, which is run by an ex-Olympian bikini girl. So it's just for bikini.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's a show dedicated to bikini pros. So
Nice. Okay.
I bought
Perfect.
that show and thought, hey, that looks like good fun. Nice big tiaras. Not
Yeah.
that I'm one, but you know, got to aim high.
Yeah.
And then the following weekend, I'm going to do the Sasquatch Pro,
Sasquatch. Yeah.
which
Mhm.
is in Federal Way.
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you know what a Sasquatch is?
No.
Have you
Mm.
seen Star Wars? You know that big, huge monkey hairy thing? And he
Oh,
makes
yeah, yeah, yes.
so their trophy is just this huge monkey. It's
Is it
pretty,
really? Oh, wow.
it's not girly at all, but it
Yeah,
looks,
no.
it's a mythical creature. Maybe apparently it's been spotted, but I don't think it's like the Loch Ness monster.
Okay.
So yeah, they've got a Sasquatch Pro in Federal Way. No, sorry. So Fort Lauderdale is Battle of the Bodies, and then no, I'm confusing myself. Florida Pro, there you go,
Okay.
is what I'll do. Battle of the Bodies, all in Florida, and then we fly to Washington State, which
Oh,
is
okay.
which also confused me because there's Washington DC and then there's Washington State. Two
State.
different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
At first, I was like, "Oh, we can go to the White House," but it's actually not. Federal Washington State is
Yeah.
a really different place to Washington
It's
DC.
like New York, because New York is
Yeah.
a state, but then you got New York City.
Yeah.
But New York City is really
Confusing.
Manhattan, so it's confusing. Anyways.
Yeah, super confusing, but I'm getting better. So yeah, then we fly to Washington State, and then we do the Sasquatch Pro. So 3 shows, back to back as well, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
Lots of tan scrubbing, but
Mm.
it'll be good fun. Just get on stage, have some practice, get some feedback from American judges, and see how I go.
What months will that
There's
be?
not many Aussies that compete in the pro league, so it'll be cool to kind of represent Australia and step on some pro stages. So September,
Okay.
yeah, when we'll head over to America and do those shows, and then we are also considering in November doing Japan again,
Mhm.
and possibly the Hawaii Pro, I think it is. So we'll just play it by ear. Like in the end, for me, you got to take it one show at a time, and just make sure that get feedback, see what they say, and just make sure that the body allows you to do these
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
Because in the end, I'll keep going as long as my body allows me to, as long as I can stay free of injuries and obviously health and everything like that. So I'm always very conscious of that too.
Yeah.
And that's why I always consider being a bodybuilder is a huge privilege, because a lot of people do bodybuilding and, it can take a toll on your health and it can impact you in many ways. So the fact that I'm still able to do this and continue competing and, I'll just keep going until I can't. Or, had enough really. But yeah, so that's the shows we've got planned for the end of the year.
That's amazing. That's super exciting. I can't wait to hear how everything goes and watch how you go over there. Obviously, we'll be cheering you on because you're representing the Oz. I want to go back to this whole competing and traveling, because I know when I had some clients and I actually was lucky enough to go over to Korea with them to help them. So I want to know, is Rich with you some of the time, all the time, none of the time, right? And also too is how do you, because you're a massive advocate for going to travel and compete overseas, but the biggest thing that people are going to be like, okay, where do I eat? Where do I train? So how do you navigate, and how much, upfront investigation do you do, except for when it's 3 days time and you're going to Brazil, right? And you haven't investigated anything. But how do you what kind of preparation do you put upfront to be like, okay, I'm going to stay here. The show's here. There's a gym there. I can buy my chicken there. How much of that prep do you do?
I think the main thing is finding somewhere that has a kitchen. That is the most important thing, because no matter where you go, America, Brazil, Japan, there's always going to be a supermarket. It might be harder to find, but people have to eat, right? Everyone, not everyone just buys, McDonald's or 7-Eleven snacks from Japan. So it's never an issue. And I think people really do overthink it and stress about it too much. And, I guess I've had the experience, so now I don't need to as much, but that is a huge part of traveling. Is you need to remember nothing is going to go to plan perfectly. You're not at home, you're not at your local gym where you know really well, you're not in your own kitchen cooking, so you need to be flexible. You need to be prepared to just make it work as best as you possibly can. And that'll stop you from stressing out over the silly little things that, you can't change. So yeah, we'll always make sure we book an apartment that has a kitchen. So no matter what, I can cook up some food. As long as there's a little fry pan or something. Like Japan, it was just like a little electric cooker, which was perfect fine, and a microwave. And then in Brazil, same thing. We had just like a little kitchen. America, the hotel in Vegas had just like a tiny little kitchen in the hotel room. So you can always find somewhere where you can cook up food, make it easy for yourself. But yeah, it just is research. You just find a location that's safe and, walking distance from normally like if you're staying in like the heart of the city, you're going to be close to train stations, whether it's gyms. Japan is tricky. Like we did have to travel a bit to find decent gyms, and same with Brazil. But America, it was very easy to find gyms, especially in Vegas, like the heart of bodybuilding. Right? There's so many amazing gyms that you can go and train at, and especially Olympia week. You walk into a gym and you're like, "God, I'm surrounded by like, wellness and bikini Olympians, and just there's cameras everywhere. It's an absolute vibe. It's really cool. So yeah, like that's one thing. You just got to be prepared too. So like whenever we travel, I'll always pack in my suitcase. I'll bring creamy rice, oats, microwave packets of rice, sometimes protein powders, just things that you can easily use when you arrive and cook up. So you're not starving hungry and having to run around the streets of a country you're not too sure about, to make sure you can get food, because in the end, in prep, that's all you care about is like on like 5 hours of food. I can't unless I get at least a bowl of oats in me. So yeah, just got to be flexible. Just that nothing ever goes perfectly to plan, so you got to make it work. Your training times might need to change, your food might change slightly, but you will always be able to find chicken breast, spinach, get some rice, make it work.
And is Rich with you some of these times? Is he traveling around a little bit?
Rich, yeah, he comes in our suitcase. Yeah, and look, I'm very, very grateful for Richard too. Like he made an amazing effort to get to a lot of shows last year, considering how many I did. And we don't expect Richard to just, pay for the whole thing too. Like we'll make sure that when he comes and stays with us, he won't pay for accommodation and things like that, just to help him out a little bit, because there's only so much you can claim. And are you on holiday, Richard, or are you going for bodybuilding? But so he came to one of my shows in Europe, and he came to America and Japan. So I think he was worried because we were doing so many shows, and he's like, if you get your pro card when I'm not there after all the effort, I'm going to be so angry.
That's a good point.
I think secretly he was happy I didn't get it in Brazil, because he was like, I wasn't going to be there. But yeah, Richard he travels light. He just comes and stays with us in the hotel. He'll sleep on our couch. So you've seen us in Japan. We had like this tiny little hotel room and this little kitchen, and like it wasn't even a couch. It was like a futon sort of thing attached to a table. And he slept on that for like, I don't know, 4 nights or something. He's not fussed at all. He's like just happy to be there and be able to help and be a part of the weekend. So we made it work,
That's awesome.
Jared and I are super cruisy too. So we just have fun, and that's what makes it enjoyable. Is Richard's a great coach. He is very level-headed. He makes every situation feel very calm. There's no stress, and that's probably why I was able to do so many shows as well, because they're just in the right headspace for everything. He kept me focused on the right things, kept me working hard, made great progression through my off seasons, and backstage he's super chilled to hang around with, so you just don't feel stressed. You can actually just have fun and enjoy the show and the experience. So yeah, very grateful for him.
It's a very good character trait for a coach to have, to keep their athlete chilled, calm, not worrying. Maybe they're stressing up here and not showing it.
Yeah,
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was.
But he didn't show it. So
Yeah.
Good at that.
Super important.
But yeah, there was some pretty cool experiences there.
Obviously, you have your partner, he competes as well. Do you try to line up your seasons so that there's 2 grumpy people in the house, or do you kind of alternate who's going to be grumpy for a part of the year, or what do you guys do?
To be fair, like we're pretty good.
Yeah.
I know a lot of couples are very mindful of that and they'll kind of take turns, but Jared, he's a bit of a champ. You know, he's got a very strong mindset when it comes to competing. He's just always been an athlete. You know, he only just got into bodybuilding, but when he was younger too, like he played, yeah, just on lots of state teams, baseball, basketball, football. So he's always kind of had that athlete, you know, driven mindset. And you know, don't get me wrong, Jared hates starving. Like he loves his food, loves his food. For him, that's, you know, a very hard thing to give up his ice cream dessert every night.
Yeah.
But he's just, yeah, he just gets on with it, gets it done, doesn't complain at all. Makes everything happen, even when he's in prep. If he's exhausted and tired, he'll still be, you know, out doing everything, socializing, moving houses. Like honestly, when we were both in prep and we were packing up our house, and I was an absolute mess. I'm just crying on the step, like I can't pack a box. And Jared's just like packed the entire house into the garage and couldn't do anything. But yeah, he's just really good to prep with. We just don't have issues at all. And again, like I've been doing this a long time. You know, don't get me wrong, I have my days where I'm probably being a little brat and complaining about a lot of things, but all in all, I know when, you know, I'm being hard on myself and I need to just, you know, block out certain things and keep going and keep pushing. And, you know, I have a good coach too who always keeps me on track and I can talk to if I'm, you know, not feeling my best or worried about something. But yeah, I think when you've been doing it for a while, you know how to have good mental toughness and emotional resilience throughout a prep.
Yeah, especially if your why is locked in.
Yep.
Then yeah, definitely. So were you guys together before you started competing, or were you already competing and then you were together?
So Jared and I, we actually, it's quite gross when you think about it. We got together when we were 19 years old.
Oh, young, very young. Okay.
So we went to high school together.
Yeah.
We went to university together. So
There
we
you go.
studied sports science together.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got into powerlifting. So
Yeah.
he was like this big, solid power lifter, just eating heaps of food, lifting heavy stuff. And, you know, I was more about posing on stage in pretty bikinis and, you know, two very different sports, but it was great. You know, we both support each other and I love going to these powerlifting competitions. I'm sure, have you been to one before?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Yeah, the vibe there is insane. And
It
even
is.
as a builder, it was super motivating for me to go to those competitions and watch everyone, like just the support and encouragement and watching these guys, you know, really work hard to then in the moment lift such ridiculously heavy weight. I love that. And, you know, it's just to think like powerlifting compared to bodybuilding, like we do a lot of hard work, but on the day, you're just there smiling and performing, you know,
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of the done. Whether with powerlifting, I just had so much respect for them because I'm like, it's you in that moment lifting or pushing that weight. And if you don't get it, you don't win. You know,
Yeah.
with
Mhm.
bodybuilding, it's so much like you're just prepared. You can relax as long as you're
Mhm.
smart. You know, you've eaten the right amount of rice cakes and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yourself up, you're good. So yeah, we just had our own hobbies and then one day we had lots of friends in the industry and they were all bodybuilders and they like said to Jared, right, you know, we'll do a powerlifting competition if you do a bodybuilding competition. He was like, there is no way in hell I would ever put on a tan and wear those little budgie smugglers. He was a powerlifter, he was rough, he had these
Yeah.
big,
Yeah.
you know, he was just like solid neck from all the squatting and deadlifting. And he was like, no, no way, wouldn't do it. But then he got his bodybuilding friends to do a powerlifting comp and they're like, right, it's your turn. So
Yeah.
he was committed to this, so I've got to do it now. And he loved it.
He
He was
did.
like, yeah, he loved it.
Yeah.
Getting shredded and you know, learning how to pose and everything. So then he just fell in love with it. And it's probably better for him too. Like power lifters, once you get to a certain weight that you're lifting,
Oh
it's
yeah.
on the body.
Oh yeah.
and he was feeling it big time. He was definitely getting a lot of injuries, and
Mhm.
it was just dangerous. And as supportive as I was, it was quite worrying sometimes to watch him lift.
Can imagine. Yeah.
But yeah, he ended up in a probably more safer sport, as they for injury wise and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's worked out well. So we've been together a very long time. Um, we got together in university, and yeah, we just kind of always supported each other through hobbies, no matter what they are.
Mhm.
And it's again something that I'm super grateful for is to have a husband who is supportive of what I do, and that's just not my hobby; it's now my job.
Yeah.
Not that he minds that all these girls coming through the house consistently posing, you know, he doesn't mind it at all. Because he's super friendly and stuff. So he's always chatting to the girls and making them feel comfortable and
That's
whatnot.
good.
So, he's just very supportive of my job and of my hobby. So that's why I've been able to accomplish so much is having that support. And I work with a lot of females, and not everyone gets that, and
Mhm.
it's very upsetting to hear sometimes. Just people who don't understand bodybuilding and the reputation it can have sometimes,
Mhm.
the things that people get called because of what they choose to do, it's upsetting to hear. So it's very important to have good support around you.
Yeah, you would definitely hear it all, I believe, and that's kind of why I asked that question. Were you together beforehand or after? Because it sounds like you kind of evolved together, and
Mm.
obviously, it was a really really great path that you guys went on. But some people, they take on bodybuilding or a goal, and they've already been with a partner for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden it can be difficult because this person's changing to a different goal, and they're all of a sudden changing all their habits, what they do socially, and those kind of things. So it can sometimes be a little bit more difficult if they don't have a supportive partner that kind of understands what they're going through. But you're incredibly lucky to have a partner like that for sure.
And I think like I speak to my clients a lot about this too. And, some people are very, closed mindset about bodybuilding, but the biggest thing when girls take on this hobby is you need to firstly sit down and explain to your family what it is and how important it is to you. And it's not about stepping on stage hard. It's really not. It's
You know?
so much more than that. But if your family, your friends, your partner, your boyfriend don't have only seen the outside world of it or the stage, you need to really speak to them and talk to them about how it can help you in so many other ways. It teaches you how to eat correctly. It gives you, a daily goal to work towards, which means getting up and exercising for an hour, moving your body to make you feel, less stressed or more motivated, get those endorphins going. It also teaches you like discipline and commitment to something. And I think everyone deserves to have that.
Mhm.
Even as adults, we kind of get stuck in our ways of like we know our job, we do it well, you kind of feel comfortable. And then we get a lot of people commit to bodybuilding and they're like, what is this sport? I'm going to give it a go. And it's challenging. And it's almost like you become a child again.
Yeah.
You're like, what is this posing? And, all this dieting and like, trying to bring it all together for stage. And it motivates people and it gives them like a spark in life because they're like, hard. It's really hard. And you've got to start from the beginning and be a beginner again. Fail at something and feel like it's hard and have to work at it to become, a master and build your confidence with it. And I think everyone needs something like that.
Definitely.
Uh, but yeah, I think it's really important. Just sit down and speak to your family. Tell them that it's not just stepping on stage in a really dark, crazy tan and, doing circles. It's the lead up to it. It's the progression that you can make. It's the healthy lifestyle habits, the commitment and discipline, and that filters through into so many other parts of your life. And it really does make you work harder at everything that you do. It raises your standards with everything that you do too. So there's so many benefits to it. And it is hard at the beginning. I remember when I first started, my friends are like, won't lie, I used to love going out and partying and
Mhm.
drinking. And then I started, training more and eating healthy and wanting to wake up on a Sunday morning feeling good. And they didn't like that. They were like, what's going on? Where's Party Cat gone? Or like, why aren't you coming out and having fun with us? And don't get me wrong, Party Cat comes out every now and then, but I definitely keep it down a lot more than often. But it took them a while to understand what I was doing and appreciate it and respect it. But then, at the beginning, it's hard because it is very new to you, and for a lot of girls too, for any bodybuilder or aspiring athlete, you might not do well. Okay, your first show, it's you're a beginner, you're setting your benchmark, and people might be like, oh, what do you get if you win? And or you're going to win, and if you don't, it's like, oh, it's not for you. But you need to remember that these things take time, and it's not about doing one show and winning. It's about the bodybuilding is what's in between. It's about, setting your new goal and thinking, right, I'm going to work and be consistent and prove to myself in a year's time that I'll step on that stage and I'm going to be bigger, more muscle. I'm going to have better conditioning. I'm going to have better posing. And that's what bodybuilding's about. And when your family and friends see you working hard and committed to it, it's not just a one-off thing. That's when they start to appreciate and respect it and see how much you change as a person, how much more confidence you have, how much more of an active, healthy lifestyle you're living. Soon they see that change and they want to be a part of it too. So, yeah, I hear a lot of great stories and a lot of horrible stories too from clients. So, you just want to make sure that they're being open and honest, I think, and then it gets to a point where you need to say, right, there's going to be a lot of people who have their 2 cents worth of what they think I should be doing and, what this is, and you just need to end up blocking it out and just focusing on you and what makes you happy.
Yeah. And those first timers or, first season competitors need to understand that they have people there to support them too. It's a small community, but it is a really, really tight community too. And if you ever need anything, just reach out to your coach, your posing coach, someone else that's also competing or have competed, multiple times they're a seasoned competitor. Everyone's super friendly in the industry and they're more than happy to help out if anyone ever needs anything. So if you're listening to this and you are struggling a little bit, I'm sure Kat wouldn't mind getting a DM from you. I wouldn't mind either. It's perfectly fine. But yeah.
Right. Been through it all.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to posing. So obviously you're a posing coach, a very, very successful one.
Thank you.
Where did it all begin? Now, I know you spoke about you've done a lot of dancing, performing, so it kind of just sounds natural that you're an amazing poser, and also you're also a school teacher, right, too? So it makes sense that you like to teach people things. So you're good at something, you can teach it, right? So where did it all start? A&K with Ainsley. I actually met her for the first time when I went to Perth for the NBA show, and she had a little baby with her.
Yeah.
And I got to meet her, which was super sweet. But when did it all start for you guys? Was she already a coach and then you were one and you kind of came together, or it all kind of started at the same time?
So we started up our business, I think it was 5 years ago. So we've been going 5-6 years. We've been doing this for a while. So it's called Pose with A&K. And how it started was Ainsley was like a posing coach for ICN when I first started posing, learning how to pose. But again, like we spoke about back then, posing was it was a thing, but not a big thing, like you got to know what to do on stage. You kind of stand there into your hip and do like a little back pose, but nothing what it is now. So when I first started learning how to pose, it was, just a couple of sessions and you're good to go. Make sure you smile and, it was fun. But now like the dedication to posing it's just gone to another level, which is good for us, obviously, because we run a posing business and, I appreciate good posing. So it's nice to see athletes putting in the time and dedication. But yeah, Ainsley and I started our business 5 years ago. She was running group classes for ICN, and I used to attend them, and, she'd help me with my posing. And after I competed, I actually got WA did like a gala awards night after a season of competing. And we went to that and had a great night, and they were giving out awards, and I got a best female poser award.
Ooh, okay.
Yep. And that was my first season ever, so I wasn't doing too bad.
Awesome.
And then from there, Ainsley asked me to help out at the group posing. So I started helping her, and then, you know, you get clients kind of coming up to you and saying, oh, would you mind helping me one-on-one? And I think my first season of posing, I had like 3 clients, just, you know, first timers, helping them do their turns and hitting poses. And, you know, I was still learning. So it takes time and experience to kind of become good at what you do. You know, the more people you put on stage, the better you get, the more you learn. Every client, and you'd feel the same as a coach, every client teaches you something. So yeah, we kind of started our little Instagram, Pose with A&K, and thought, look, you know, at least it's a central point people can go to if they need help. And back then, like, bodybuilding was getting bigger, but it wasn't too big. And then we kind of put a couple of girls on stage, and they did really well. And then other girls found out who was their posing coach. And Ainsley and I have very similar styles in the way that we teach too. You know, we love strong posing. It's got to flow. It's got to be very graceful, poised, professional. You know, everyone's got their own style that they teach, but for us, we like it to be, you know, effective posing. It's got to, you know, you got to hit those poses correctly and not overdo it. That's a very big thing to us. And, you know, we always take on feedback from the judges too, and listen to the federations and what they want in their posing. So, yep, we just kind of kept working, and the more we did it every season, we just got more and more clients, to the point where it just blew up. And, you know,
That's awesome.
Ainsley and I messaging us like, how are we going to fit all these girls in, you know, because I was working full-time as a school teacher.
Yeah.
And she worked in a bank. So Ainsley and I were working weekends, after hours, before school, before work, to fit in all these girls. And, you know, we'd hold group posing classes, and they just kept getting bigger and bigger, to the point that we were working for like 5 hours on a Sunday morning doing back-to-back group classes. And we loved it though. We had so much fun, and we still do. You know, we still put them on pretty much every month leading up to each season of shows. And yeah, so I was getting probably like 20, 25 clients a week. And I was like, I cannot fit all these girls in with full-time teaching.
No.
So I spoke to my principal, and I said, look, how would you feel if I cut back a day and just did 4 days teaching, and then I'd do posing on like a Friday and a Saturday? And he was like, yeah, no worries, that's fine. And that's the brilliant part about teaching, is that for my job, I can be flexible. You know, I can work a certain amount of days that I choose, as long as I have a good teacher to team teach with. Yeah, it kind of worked really well, and I loved it. And I thought, maybe next year I'll cut back another day and do like 2 days posing, 3 days teaching. Because for me, you know, I love primary school teaching. You know, I've taught kids for 12 years. And yeah, it's very rewarding, but it's hard to teach kids sometimes, because they genuinely don't want to learn. You know, they just want to go out to recess, kick the ball with their friends, play. You know, but I started doing posing and teaching, you know, women who were so committed and dedicated to doing these shows, passionate about it, and wanting to learn, and super grateful for it too. And I was like, wow, this is another side of teaching. Really enjoyable. And so, yeah, it just kind of, you know, happened like that. I just cut back 1 day at a time until I ended up doing 1 day teaching and like 5 posing.
That's a big difference.
So, you know, you gradually build it up, and that's what I think it's important when you start a business. You got to start from the ground, and you just get experience, get clients, and you just slowly build from there. You know, you learn so much putting people on stage. What looks good, what works well for each federation. And the beauty of posing is that no one pose is the same. You might be teaching them the same pose, but everyone learns differently, everyone moves differently. And yeah, every client you put up there, you're kind of like, oh, that worked, or that didn't, or that looks really good. And that's kind of how Ainsley and I have come to what we do now, and how we've kind of created this successful business, is because we've just worked hard at watching these girls on stage, seeing how they perform, and make sure that, you know, they're standing out and doing well.
So every posing coach has like a different teaching method. I know I try to go to as many classes that my clients have as possible, many sessions as possible. And what I've seen over time is, some posing coaches might do like a stepwise approach where, first session they'll teach just the footwork for the quarter turns. And then the next session will be the transition of the footwork from the quarter turns. And the next session will be adding in the hands. The next session will be, so there's that method. I've seen other coaches where it's like, we do it in chronological order. So you walk out on stage, that's what we start teaching first. And we teach in that. So do you have a kind of method and a way that you teach?
Well, I truly believe that, and you can probably answer this for me running your own federation, like, what is the most important part to posing?
Well, I'm not a judge, so I won't talk. I won't talk for the judges. But
when you watch someone on stage, what is the most important part that you're judging?
Well, you're going to judge them for like an MBA or an ICN or something like that, where we're not talking FMG, where they're just moving constantly, right?
Yeah. Just MBA. What is the most important thing that they do on stage?
So it's when they're in their static poses and they're being compared. That's when all the judging is done. Sure, a first impression on stage is important, but majority of the judging is done in the comparisons.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, like, the more you pose, the more you learn, the more you teach it. And yes, first impressions are very important, and that will be taught during your, posing journey. But there is nothing more important than knowing your mandatory poses in and out, hitting them consistently, because I have seen girls with incredible physiques, and they can hit a front pose, they can hit a back pose, but they can't really do too much. They're still developing and still building their confidence, but they win because in the end, it's bodybuilding.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of posing. I love confidence. I love flow. I love girls just moving on stage like you can't take your eyes off them. But in the end, it is bodybuilding. It's not a dance competition. It's not a SAS competition.
Mm-hmm.
It is about your physique. So for me personally, the most important thing is teaching them their mandatory poses first. That comes at the beginning, and not only because they need to do them on stage, but it helps their coaches too. You as a coach, you need good check-in pictures. And I've seen some people's check-in pictures and they are terrible. So, as soon as you can get clients hitting the poses correctly, it gives their coaches feedback. They can see their shape, how their body composition is looking, their structure and the size of muscle that they've got. So for me personally, as soon as I get a brand new client, I'm like, right, you need to understand what your 4 main mandatory poses are. Let's get you in them, understanding how everything should be positioned, the shapes that you're trying to create, why things are like that too. Like, at the beginning, they look like something super awkward and stiff, and they're like, why am I doing this? But you try and explain to them, mobility comes and it will feel more comfortable the more you work on it. But in the end, this is the shape you're trying to create. This is what they're looking for, the muscle they're looking for. So yeah, I always teach that first, and then from there you can go into things like how you transition. So getting them to, move confidently from pose to pose, and then I'll normally, while teaching transitions, I'll spend some time too on how to walk, because I do believe,
and it's hard.
If you ask the majority of females who've stepped on stage, the hardest thing is to walk.
Yep.
Not poses, not the turns. It is just walking in heels. So yeah, I definitely throw that in early on in their sessions to make sure they can build their confidence. And then it goes into so much detail of, like, arm movements, thinking about posture, tying it together with flow, facial expressions, making sure they're smiling. And then from there, it's getting them out of their comfort zone, and not just doing that in front of me, but doing it in front of groups of people. Because in the end, you can pose beautifully in front of me. That doesn't matter. You need to be able to do what you do for me in front of an audience.
Yeah. No mirrors.
No mirrors, and in front of your peers, in front of coaches. And that's why we do all our group posing classes, and we stress to girls, you must do these, because it helps to build their confidence, get them outside their comfort zone, and then they really understand, what federations want on their stage, how it runs, how they come on, stage walks, stage calls, walking, turning, changing places with people. There's so many things to it that they need to know and be confident with before they step on stage. So it's a whole process,
Yeah.
Ladies, get on it early. If I can stress anything, make sure you're posing a year before
100%.
step on
100%.
stage.
So how important is it for the posing coach to know the criteria of the divisions and the federations and know what shape is required? So I know posing coaches have gotten better, but I work a lot with the posing coach themselves, because I think I know the athlete the best out of us and them, and what the athlete's strengths and weaknesses are, and also what we want to present in that division for that federation. So should the posing coach have that level of knowledge as well? And should posing coaches be open to also communicating with coaches as well?
I think the posing coach definitely needs to understand the federation and the different divisions. It's a fine line too, because I believe I am a posing coach, so I'm there to teach the girls how to move, but I also don't want to step on toes when it comes to the coach's job of what they think the division should be. So every now and then, I'll have a client, and some girls can be very borderline, especially first timers. If they're way out from their prep or stepping on stage, it's hard to know exactly where they're going to end up. The amount of girls I've had that, say I want to do fitness and they end up looking like a bikini girl, or, want to do bikini and get lean, and all of a sudden they've got these shoulders coming through and quads that are way too much for bikini. So it is, I always say you got to be open. You got to be open to the possibilities of where you could end up, because in the end, we just want them to be as competitive as possible, be in the right division. So yeah, there are coaches who I feel quite confident and comfortable discussing my honest opinions with, but I'm very mindful of not, stressing out the client, because sometimes throwing that on them can, overwhelm them. So it's just going about it in the right way. Speaking to the coaches when you need to, when you really do feel like they're in the wrong division, because there's nothing worse than seeing a girl spend all that time in prep, get ready for a show, and they're standing on stage and they don't look competitive in that lineup because they're either too muscular, not lean enough, whatever it is. So I do think communication with the coaches is very important. So if you can have an athlete, a good posing coach, and a good coach where you can work as a team, you get great results. But yeah, I just think communication is really important between coach and posing coach, for the athlete. But yeah, definitely posing coach needs to know the federations and know the divisions really well. And I think, for me personally, as a posing coach, I only like to teach the divisions that I've done myself. So I know them in and out. I've stepped on stage. I've done that division. I know the posing, I know the look really well. And yeah, it just allows me to teach it with a very good understanding of what is expected.
So that actually brings me to my next point, because Fit Model is new.
I haven't done Fit Model.
Yeah, I was going.
If they had Fit Model 4 years ago, it would have been great.
100%. So actually, there's an athlete in our team. She does posing with you. She gets coached by one of our coaches called Amy. The client is named Lizzie. She's doing. Yes.
Lizzie.
Yeah. So she's doing Fit Model. So I've been
super excited about it too.
Yeah. So how do you go about doing that? How do you go about learning a new division posing that you've never seen before on a stage?
Well, it's definitely a bit of trial and error, I won't lie, because everyone's watching to see how this Fit Model ends up, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, my biggest thing with posing, especially for the NPC, is I always refer back to the standards that are set in America. I do believe that they, that's where it comes from. They have, the biggest judges in the world. They're the ones putting out the workshops and the feedback. So for me, I'll always watch reels, watch, podcasts and things like that talk about the division, so I can get a really good understanding of the criteria and the posing as well. And then watching the shows, like seeing who's winning the shows, what they look like, how they're posing. And I'm like, right, that's the standard, that's what we need to achieve. But it's playing around with it too. Like the fit model division, it just posing as well. It's very simple. They've made that clear that they want to make sure that there's no pausing in transitions. It's, very fluid movements going from front to back. The front pose is, I've played around with it with a couple of people, and it does look good. It can look quite effective. And I think Lizzie's doing a great job of her posing too. She's been working really hard, which is awesome. So well done. I mean, she was already dedicated before, but you're doing a great job.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how it evolves, but it is hard, but it's also exciting to be a part of, because you just work with the athletes, do what you think looks best, and then you just got to put them on stage and see how it goes, and get feedback, and then we can keep tweaking things. And, I mean, I'm sure it's the same for you as a prep coach, kind of looking at what you want to do with Lizzie and what look you want to bring as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's pretty close. It's only a couple of weeks out, so it's going to be really interesting to see how it all comes together, and how the division gets judged. And you can only go by what we think it's going to happen, right? And then we'll see how it evolves.
I think it's a great thing for NPC. I'm really looking forward to seeing the girls who come through and compete in this division, because, like I said, if I had this division 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been amazing to do a couple of years in fit model, and then as you're progressing, putting on more muscle, keep working towards bikini, and then, give that a go. So I love the look of it. I think I'm hoping that, I've seen a couple of girls compete over in the States, and I'm hoping it still does have a decent amount of muscle. We understand that it's not the conditioning like bikini. It needs to be softer, like, faint lines for tie-ins, but still nice round glutes, nice round shoulders. So yeah, I'm hoping it still has a decent amount of muscle, but just not as huge and not as conditioned as bikini.
I think we might see some girls that were in bikini that never really got those top spots. They might drop back into fit model, and they might be more competitive. So I think it may grow in that way, where people will drop back a little bit, have a go in fit model, and see if they can then progress back up into bikini.
But, the thing is too, like, some women don't want to get that big, and they don't have to. You shouldn't have to. If it's a set criteria, obviously that's the goal. You've got to try and work towards it. But some women do want to do bodybuilding and don't want to have to get that jacked and, put on that much muscle or get super peeled like some of the bikini girls do. So it's fun to see a division where it still does require muscle and you have to diet and get into shape, but it's not as big as what the bikini division has become. Because look, it's hard, it took me 5 years to get this big. So not everyone wants to do that. I mean, I do. It's super fun. I love training and putting on muscle, but not every female, I guess, desires to be that big.
And so they've also changed the stage walk, I believe, as well. Yeah.
Yep. So NPC have now, for all divisions, there's no walk to the back, walk forward, which I'm sure some girls will be upset about. But honestly, from a spectator's perspective, it's just going to allow the show to just move a little bit faster. I think, especially having fit model in the show as well, it's just, going to give a bit more time back to allow, all the different classes for fit model too. Plus a lot of girls being first time on stage, having a simple stage walk, it just makes it a little easier for them. And hopefully it will flow better. Just less walking, I think a lot of first time, the less walking, the better. Now we just practice walking a diagonal.
Diagonal and looking out whilst walking around diagonal. Yeah.
But no, I think it'll be a good thing. And to be fair, like, every amateur show I've done internationally, they do not allow any of that walk to the back, walk forward.
Okay.
You know, every show I've done, it's always been walk directly to the front, into the
Mhm.
box, front and back pose and off.
And off.
So,
Yeah.
and it does. When the shows are super big, like the nationals here in Australia, it just allows the show to flow better,
Mhm.
get through a little bit faster. And yeah, the format is good. You know, I like that the individual routines are done after comparisons,
Mhm.
you know, allowing the girls to just pose a little bit more relaxed and enjoy it rather than the pressure of that's the first thing you do.
Yeah, makes sense. Yep, does. Now, the last thing is, there's obviously IFBB's got the mid-year shows, the natty shows. They're not over in the West Coast at the moment, but has there been any talks over there? Are people thinking of coming over, flying over to do some mid-years? Does anyone have a thought about it?
Flying over for, sorry, what,
For the
mid-years,
mid-year IFBB natural shows?
right. So they're, oh, from Perth.
Yeah, so the Perth people coming
Sorry,
over to East
us
Coast.
going
Yeah,
over there, which is
yeah,
always the way. Always
yeah,
fun.
yeah. I know. Hopefully, they
Everyone,
come over your way.
yeah, hopefully. Perth, it's beautiful,
Yeah.
great beach. Um, I don't actually know, to be honest. I think I've got one girl doing mid-year nationals, sorry, naturals.
Mhm.
That's it. Not many.
Okay.
Not,
Look, I'm a really big advocate of the mid-year season, and I was one of the people that pushed us internally within NBA to actually put one out there. So we're doing our mid-years for the first time this year, because from a coaching perspective, clients will get through that kind of Christmas, New Year's period, and then most preps will start probably like Feb, March for that mid-year. So I think it's attractive for a lot of first timers, and they can bridge the gap between two seasons. Some can do from A to B or B to C as well. I'm just really hoping that it grows so that it will eventually come over to the West Coast over there.
yeah, I think, you know, and like I said to you before we started, it's just, you just got to put the shows on.
Mhm.
Get a few people up on stage, word of mouth, and the more they see it, the more people know about it. And yeah, just being consistent with it, because Australia, we do our best, but we really are quite a small community for bodybuilding.
Mhm.
You know, there's only a few shows a year compared to like when you go over to America and there's 2-3 shows every weekend.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think it's great, and I really do hope people jump on it and more people get involved. It's the same with like Fit Model coming through. It's just giving people the opportunity to be a part of the industry, grow, evolve in the industry, to make it bigger and better. Because the more people, the more support, the more money, and that's a good thing for all athletes. And having shows like this mid-year encourages people that if the timing doesn't work for season A, they can do it season B. You know, and there's always things going on in life. So to have 3 different seasons now, it gives people a lot more options. And yeah, having the NPC mid-year show, and then I know is the NBA have their mid-year show as well. So it's growing. Australia's doing good. We're getting better. Hopefully, we bring in, you know, maybe some pro shows for IFBB as well.
I know. Actually, I ran into Tony at the airport at the start of the year, I think it was, and I did ask him, and he's like, if it makes sense from a money perspective, then I'll do it.
Yeah,
And I get it. I
it
get
is
it.
a lot of money to put the pro shows on.
Yeah,
And, you know, I'm sure one day it will. I'm sure the expo will be back and there'll be you know, some sort of NBC IFBB expo. But yeah, it takes time.
yeah. Even more cards, potentially giving out more cards.
Mm.
I know cards cost money as well.
Would have saved me a lot more money too.
Yeah. Yeah. If they gave him out to second place for a little bit, that would have been nice. But yeah.
But yeah, look, it's a tough one, and I understand where Tony's coming from as well, in regards to you can't just give them out, like you want to make it a big thing for people to strive for and work for. But tell you, there's a lot of women in bikini who deserve to be a pro.
Oh yeah. In this country, there's a
It's
lot.
not just bikini, not just
Yeah.
bikini. And you know, that's the thing, you get more pro athletes, you can put on decent pro shows, you can advertise the sport more, you can, yeah. So there's potential. And, you know, by then I might be retired, but I'll still be in the industry and
Well,
doing posing, no doubt. So
that's right. For you, now you can only compete overseas, right? That's it.
yeah,
There's
well,
no,
there's no pro shows in Australia. So, and I don't mind that, to be
of
honest.
course,
Like,
yeah, because you love traveling. Yeah, of course. That's why you did it.
yeah, but like I just enjoy, going to a different country or a different state, and you get such an amazing experience out of it. And I like being a little fish in a big pond. You know, when you've been doing it for a long time and you're doing these amateur shows, Australian shows, like, it's fun to compete in front of your friends and family, but for me, it's just, I like to just be a nobody again, and I can go and, give these pro shows a go and just slowly work my way back, up as high as I can, try and aim for you know, just getting those top few call outs would be amazing, to be honest. Yeah, you got to dream big.
Sometimes that underdog mentality really keeps people motivated, where
Hmm.
they just really want to start from the
Keeps you
bottom again and
hungry,
keep going. Yeah.
keeps you hungry, and also
Yeah.
keeps, it keeps the enjoyment there too. You bring your best, but again, you just have, don't expect anything. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And you just focus on everything that's in your control, and just see what happens. I'll just be backstage with all my fangirling on everyone, all the pros. But yeah, no, it'll be fun. Good fun.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was great chatting to you. We could have went down a lot of rabbit holes, but maybe we'll leave it for another one.
Cut it there. And I'm sure we can visit some other stories another time. But yeah, thank you for having me on. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Things bodybuilding, and we're looking forward to having you over in Perth on Sunday.
Yep, I will see you on Sunday and then potentially at the shows as well. But again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know you're a massive inspiration for a lot of the listeners too. And having that thing in the background, that big red pro card
That's our decoration at the moment. Pro card. I'll put it up on the wall eventually.
Did you wouldn't have packed that in your luggage, right? You would have carried that proudly under your arm?
I that under my arm all the way home. We travel business class on the way home, and I put it in between the middle of our seats.
Nice.
That was a great flight, actually. I was drinking champagne with my pro card, and then one of the air hostess even said, she was like, "Do you know you resemble Victoria Beckham?" And I was like, "What an honor!" I think that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said. No.
That's so good.
It was good fun. But yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Thanks so much, Kat. Appreciate it.